Hi guys, this video is going to cover 15 of my favourite easy to care for houseplants that I think are suitable for beginners or just about anybody who's looking for a plant that doesn't need a lot of maintenance. I've chosen these plants because they're widely available, they're not very expensive, they're easy to care for, but they're also interesting and beautiful. And if you don't already have much of an interest in houseplants, these are the sorts of houseplants that might spark more of an interest and maybe encourage you to grow your collection of houseplants. So let's kick things off with a spider plant. Anywhere you see houseplants being sold, you're likely to find spider plants. They're really common, and they're common because they look great and they're easy to care for. They don't need a lot of water, they don't need a lot of light, and they don't have an awful lot of problems associated with caring for them. All you want to watch out for is don't overwater it. As long as you do this, your spider plant will do rightly. It'll thrive for years. This is quite a compact cultivar, but quite a lot of them will have quite long leaves that will spill out of the pot, and they look great in hanging baskets or even just on in a pot like this. They will flower in the summer, and after flowering, they'll produce little baby plants on the end of their flower stalks. And sometimes when you get an adult plant with loads of these flower stalks trailing off the side of the pot with loads of little baby spider plants, and they look class. So really cheap, really widely available, hugely recommended. Next one I'm going to go for is the common jade plant. This is a succulent plant, and again, cheap, widely available, and really versatile. You can get little small ones, you can grow them into big, massive specimen trees, you can prune them in all kinds of different shapes. Because they are succulents, this means they store water in their stems and in their leaves, and they can go weeks without watering. So if you forget to water them, it's no big deal really. Again, just don't water them too often, wait till the soil's dry, then water them. If you want an easy to care for houseplant, jade plants are the way to go. The next one, some people might disagree with me here. I've chosen a Phalaenopsis orchid. Now, Phalaenopsis orchids sometimes get a reputation for being not that easy to care for, but I totally disagree. They are so widely available, so they are, and they flower for months at a time. If you buy one of these from the shop or the garden centre, bring it home, you can rely on it flowering for 2, 3, 4, maybe even up to 6 months before the blooms will fade and you'll just be left with the leaves of the plant. They don't need a lot. They need moderate to bright light. Avoid direct sunlight or you'll scorch the leaves. Watering is dead easy. Whenever the roots go silvery grey, you water it. Whenever the roots are lime green, you don't. That's it. It's not that complicated. I think where most people go wrong is they overwater them. So they kill them with kindness and they get root rot. And they will get root rot quite quickly if you do overwater them. If you're looking for a houseplant with flowers, this is it. This is my favourite, Phalaenopsis or moth orchid. Go for it. Next one, again, a nice easy succulent, the aloe vera. Again, cheap, easy to find, and really fast growing. I've actually only had this one for a few months, and it was probably about half the size when I got it. So it has just grown really, really quickly. Obviously everyone knows the gel in aloe vera leaves has got all kinds of healing properties. If you burn yourself in the kitchen, you can cut an aloe vera leaf and use the gel inside it to soothe the wound. So not just a pretty houseplant, it does have its uses as well. Again, this is big time a succulent, loads of water in these leaves, so wait till the soil's dry before you water it. I actually bought this one online randomly, which you don't need to buy these online because they're really widely available everywhere. Unfortunately, it did get a bit of leaf damage in the post, but otherwise it's great. I just leave it on a southwest facing windowsill and it does really, really nicely. So next one we'll go over here and we'll go for a peperomia. This is a Peperomia graveolens. I love this because the leaves are this unusual shape. They're kind of folded up and the top of the leaf is green and the underside's red. So it makes them look really cool and a little bit unusual. And again, being a succulent, they don't need much water. They don't need much attention. They do need a fair bit of light. So a nice bright windowsill is great for a peperomia. Peperomia come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and varieties. Some of them are succulents and some of them aren't. The care needs do depend on what succulent or what peperomia rather you get. But if you do see this one, Peperomia graveolens, it's quite distinctive. Pick it up. Again, I got this for very cheap. So next one we'll go for is this one here. This is Pilea peperomoides, or the UFO plant, or the pancake plant, or the Chinese money plant, or the pass it on plant, or the friendship plant, or any one of about another 20 names that it commonly goes by. If you were looking for this plant 5 or 10 years ago, it might have been pretty pricey. You might have struggled to get a hold of it. It's now pretty widely available. It grows fast. It can be propagated really easily, which I'm going to cover in another video. And it's just a really cool plant with these big round leaves on the stalks. If you see it, definitely pick it up. Doesn't need a lot of care. They pretty much look after themselves. So the next one we'll go for is Fittonia, or the nerve plant. I love this because of the leaves. The patterning on the leaves is spectacular, really delicate veining on the leaves. They come in all kinds of colors. Usually the leaves are green, but the veins can be white, pink, red, or various kinds of hues. And the big thing with these is if you let them dry out, they will wilt spectacularly, and you'll think it's died. The good thing is when you water them, they'll recover very nicely. Just keep the soil moist, keep them out of direct sunlight. You'll not go too far wrong. I seem to see them everywhere these days, not just in garden shops or garden centres. I see them in supermarkets, so you shouldn't have trouble getting hold of it. Okay, next one we'll go for is this. This is Avresia. I'm not 100% sure what exact Avresia, I've actually just forgotten. I got this really cheaply from a DIY store that I happen to be in. I love this because it's got these interesting flowers, or they're not true flowers, but it's a nice bit of colour in your house. These will last for several months. But yeah, you'll see these everywhere, and they come in, there's various sort of shapes and sizes of colours of the wee flowers, and they're very, very nice indeed. The next one we'll go for is this here. This is a Begonia rex. Again, another really common house plant that's very inexpensive. It comes in a massive variety of leaf shapes and patterns and colours. I did a video recently on how to care for these, and really they're not very difficult. Just water them once the top inch or so of the soil dries out, and keep them in bright light. I've had this one for about 3 years. It cost maybe about £5 when it was new. It's definitely been good value for money. So a really lovely house plant, for anybody who's looking for something easy. Next one we'll go for is this here. This is a Madagascar dragon tree. This is quite a small specimen. The technical name for this is a Dracena marginata. It's got these lovely red edges to the leaves, and again, it's got succulent properties, so it doesn't need a lot of water. You're better leaving the soil to dry out. It'll cope with low light, although it does better in bright light. Big specimens can be quite expensive, but small ones like this are pretty cheap. If you do see this, it's lovely. There can be quite a statement piece actually in a room if you do get a larger specimen, so look out for that. Next one is hugely common, peace lily. This is again quite a small one. Peace lilies, they must be some of the most common house plants around. I can certainly see why. They've got these lovely large deep green leaves, and the spathes that they produce, as long as they give them enough light, they'll produce lots of flowers, and they'll keep flowering for months on end, sometimes almost all year round. They'll keep flowering, which is great. They do wilt again spectacularly if they're underwatered, but will recover very, very nicely. A lovely houseplant for beginners. Not an awful lot of problems, to be honest with them. Again, overwatering is the main one, so that's the thing to look out for. Okay, we have a few left to go through. This here is an umbrella tree, or a Schefflera arbicola. These again are lovely because they've got these sort of fan-shaped, umbrella-shaped collections of leaves. They do like quite bright light, so if you don't give them enough light, they'll become quite leggy and sparse. But otherwise, they're popular for a reason, and that's because they just sort of look after themselves. So don't be scared about getting one of these and it dying, because you'd have to try pretty hard to kill this one. Okay, next we have the snake plant. I must say I love snake plants because there's nothing quite like them with these upright, succulent leaves, these sword-shaped leaves. They come in a variety of sizes and shapes and colours and patterns of the leaves. They're very much a succulent, so I mean, I probably water this once a month during the summer, and maybe leave it 6 weeks or more, through the winter. It is very, very easy to care for, and really, if you want a plant that you could quite happily go on holiday for a month and not worry about, the snake plant's it's a great option. Okay, the next one we've got is this big one here. This is a pothos, or an Epipremnum aureum. These, again, must be some of the most easy to look after plants in the world. They have the name Devil's Ivy because they can survive anything, so they can. They grow quickly, so even if you get a small specimen, the vines will grow, very, very rapidly, so you'll end up with a big plant quite quickly. You can have them as trailing plants, so you can, put them on a shelf or have them as a hanging plant, and the vines will grow out of the pot. You can have them like this one here, which is growing up a moss pole, and hopefully the vines will keep coming and spill over the sides of the moss pole. And I haven't quite decided what way I'm going to let this one grow as it gets older. Again, they're practically giving these ones away. They're cheap as chips, widely available, and will tolerate low light really well. So go for that. Now, the last one I've got here for you, it's quite a small specimen. I do have a larger one, but this is more camera friendly for the purposes of this video. This is a Monstera deliciosa, or a Swiss cheese plant. The big appeal of these are massively popular because they've got these enormous leaves, these big fenestrated or split leaves, look great. It's also known as a split leaf philodendron, although it's not a philodendron at all, so don't be confused by that. They're fast growing. They don't, again, need a lot of care. The way that you can go wrong with these is probably overwatering them or not giving them enough light. But otherwise, they're really suitable for beginners. And if you're looking for a larger houseplant, this is definitely the way to go. So that's just a really quick run through some of my favorite houseplants that are easy to care for. Let me know whether you agree with my choices, what you think of them. Are there any that you think are silly, or are there any that you think would be better choices for beginners? If you leave a comment below, that'll be wonderful, and I promise you I'll read them all and reply where possible. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm really going to try and produce a lot of videos with plant care tips and houseplant profiles over the next while. So we can all learn a little bit more about houseplant care together. Thanks very much, guys. All the best. Bye.